Welcome to Accounting High.
At that time, as I was thinking through all that, I met the person who is now my business partner. And I saw I had an older practice, but it was smaller than her newer practice. But she was going to need help getting her practice up to the next level. I was looking for a shortcut, a fast track to learn some things, get some things going for, my own. And we just started helping each other. And we got to the point where we were helping each other so much. It was like, we should just do this thing and do it together. And I think I'm answering questions you haven't yet asked, but there we go.
No. You're doing great. This is perfect. Can we introduce Sarah too?
Yes,
Sarah
absolutely.
Harris?
Hi, Sarah. Just kidding. She's not
Yeah,
actually on this call.
not on this call, but
But Sarah,
that's your new partner.
yes.
So Sarah had a practice that she had just started. What was her focus? What was the size of her practice at the time when you guys were starting to talk about this?
Yeah. I mean, she had about 5 folks on staff between full-time and part-time. She was still in the business doing quite a bit of work herself, though, just growing like a weed. Like
Sure.
She is in Northwest Arkansas. That's kind of Walmart and oil and gas country. There's just lots of growth up there. There's lots of need for accounting and tax folks up there. So, yeah.
And how on earth do you meet somebody and get close to somebody from Arkansas when you're in Atlanta?
This podcast episode has been sponsored by Jason Stutz Realize Group.
Ah,
Yeah. So we met and realized probably about a year ago now.
dope. Okay. So it's a lot deeper than just meeting somebody on Twitter. You're going in there and you're actually meeting people and talking to them. How did that facilitate?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it had to be realized. I've made some pretty deep relationships off of Twitter,
Okay.
like just any social media. But I don't know if the platform is special or not from that perspective, right? You can meet good people anywhere, but that is how we met. And I immediately gravitated to her. I had just started offering financial planning for my clients. She had been doing that since day one for her, and she was doing the accounting piece. So she had pieces in place that I was just figuring out, how do I want to get this into place. So it was an immediate professional attraction to me, like, oh, here's somebody I can, mimic and learn from. And from her perspective, she's like, who is this person?
I don't think Sarah said that. I'm sure she enjoyed your company at the time too. You guys kind of complement each other in a lot of ways too. I've hung out with you both together numerous times, and Sarah's very quiet and contemplative, and Alicyn talks. Even though you may not like to talk about yourself, you keep the conversation going. You ask the right questions and you keep the conversation alive. There are some people that are a joy to be around, but they don't necessarily keep a conversation alive and things get quiet. So I feel like you two probably got along really well because you got to keep, you were a bright light for her as well. So tell me, what was it that sparked the conversation of, wow, we might actually work together professionally? Because this cultivated over a couple of years, I'm assuming.
No, I just met her this time last year.
Just a year ago.
Yeah.
You're already shacking up.
I will think it's, some things that probably were fast forwards for us. As much as I am a homebody and as much as I would prefer to stay on social media than go out, last year was definitely a year of conferences and seeing people in person. And she already had a lot of that on her radar as well. So, we spent a lot of time together in person, even though we're several states apart. I think while it's probably not necessary, you can cultivate deep and meaningful relationships from a distance. I do think having that in-person time is a bit of a fast forward. So I think that was a piece of it. I think just being kind of about the same age, both being women, both having very similar goals and values, we want out of life, what we want out of our business, how we want to serve clients. Those are fast forwards because you just have this immediate comfort with somebody. I know that if I go on vacation for 2 weeks, I don't have to worry that a team member or a client has been treated in a way that I wouldn't be okay with, and vice versa, right? While we have needed time and probably still will need time to get to learn each other, our styles, what we want, we're building something very new for either of us really at this point, and trying to do that together. There's fundamental things that I think we don't have to really consider.
Shared values and trust. I think those are the two core components of a successful partnership. What are some of those shared values, if you can articulate them? Sometimes it's hard to articulate that, but
yeah, I think for us, our biggest one is to be kind, always, to our team, to our clients, to our vendor partners, et cetera. Like, giving them grace, being clear with our communications, understanding if there wasn't clarity, understanding if they just can't get something done because of reasons, and like encouraging the same, right? So I think that's really our big thing, is just to try to inspire and encourage and provide a home for kindness. And I'll say we are business partners, so we bitch with each other all the time. This didn't happen, that didn't happen, right?
Ooh, I love that. And you can be honest and still be kind. When you guys have those honest arguments and whatever they are, discussions, you're still being kind by actually bringing stuff forward and not holding it in. It's not kind to hold something in and then let it go out in other ways or let it come out in other ways. So there's a truth to that, or to being honest, and honest with yourself, honest with your partner. Now let's talk about some of the operational difficulties
Mm,
of putting together two existing practices.
yeah.
So it wasn't like you were just off the street living in your car and then you start working with Sarah. You have practice, an active practice too, that you've been pruning. Let's say
Yes.
you've
Yeah.
been getting rid of all the excess, and now you have a core group of clients and a business that's operational, that's running, that you could have kept doing yourself, but you decide, let's grow. And it's your 4 year curve or turn to do something new again, right? Maybe not 4 years, maybe three. I don't know. We weren't counting years, but now it's time for something new. It's bright, it's new. Tell me some of these operational difficulties you guys have been
Mm.
dealing with over the past several months.
I would say the first piece of it is deciding what services we want to offer and what services we don't want to offer. It took us a little while to realize exactly what those things are, and we're still modifying. And of course, you want people who are trained to do those things, and you want processes and platforms that, can support those. That's been one thing. Another piece of it is our team right now is primarily offshore. And you and I have talked about that too. So, how do you best support those folks? For instance, I've been working from home solo for about a decade, but that's very different than the environment I was raised in this industry. I was raised in a very in person environment where learning can happen very informally and unintentionally and quickly in a remote, whether people are offshore or onshore, really. But when you're not in an office setting, that learning needs more intentionality built around it. It needs more clear processes built around it. Sarah and I are both very, very open to all of that. It's just sort of taking us a little time to learn through what exactly does that look like, right? We think we're being clear about something, but when our expectations aren't met, it's like right in your face. You go, oh, well, that was entirely unclear. It's amazing somebody did anything with what I said to do.
That's what you learn when you start talking to Chat GPT and you start giving it prompts that you think are clear, and then
Right?
it just gives you
Like
garbage.
off the rails. Yeah.
Yeah, it's your communication skills. Yeah, and you learn as you're starting to work with more people how important that is to be
Mhm.
clear and have clear communications. How about some of the tools and technology? Were you guys using similar tools?
We were, and so we decided we would continue using some things. So for us, there is every decision has four options, right? Do it the way Alicyn did it, do it the way Sarah did it, do it a completely new way, or coincidentally, we both had been doing it the same way, and maybe we'll do it that way. And so,
Well, no, that's not option four. That's option four is option A and B, right? A and so
sure,
there's question A, B, C, and then D is both A and C, so or A and B.
right,
Yeah.
right. And we want to intentionally create all this rather than just say, oh, well, I use this, so let's do this again. It was an easy button. We want to be very intentional and create something that we can delegate, that will scale, that we can, step out of some of this day to day work that we would like to teach others to do. So we have really just only recently discovered that one of the platforms, that our practice management platform, that we had both used the same one. I won't name names, but it really is not a practice management platform. It is at best a clunky client portal. But we thought, well, we'll just keep using that because we both know it really, really well. And I think we have spent more resources and more energy on trying to make that thing do things we want to do. So we very recently snatched up ClickUp for our project management, and we are wowed with it. We cannot wait to deploy it. It's already doing great so far. So that's really going to be our practice management, project management, team member communication home. What else did we do? I think we tried to cobble together a lot of pieces from the Microsoft ecosystem,
Sure.
Teams, and which has been great for video and chat, probably not so great for other things. So hopefully we'll continue to improve in that area as well. Client portal, I don't know. It's tax season. We're not going to change that right now.
Yeah, client portals are a thing of high contention. Some people really don't like talking about client portals or even dealing with them. Clients don't necessarily like it. I don't know how I feel about it. I think that if your PM, if your practice management system has a clean way for clients to access stuff, then maybe that's the solution, having it all in one place.
It could be. It could be. I think we're always looking for that one perfect solution. And I think that can be kind of hard. I think hopefully a good win for us is we now have someone on a fractional basis doing automations for us. So as these platforms are able to talk to each other, either through an RPA, if it's not obvious, or, hopefully through open API, or even probably within the platforms themselves, like the soul crushing work that we don't really want to do or want anyone else to do. We're hoping some of that can be automated and be on a more routine schedule where the bots are taking care of it for us. So some underlying foundational issues with tech stacks, we are hoping we can solve with automations in the short term, and then hopefully move to better platforms with more elegant automations maybe later this year, but baby steps.
So you've got two practices using now somewhat similar. I mean, everything is kind of blending together, everything is working together. How about the people aspect of this? Who's the boss now? Because Sarah had 5 employees. Alicyn has come in.
Yeah.
Tell me, what are both of your roles in this practice?
So I'll take a step back from that and say
Okay.
our goal is building something that is easily, or less difficultly scalable, and we're able to bring people in to do management level positions for us, COO, that sort of thing. So for us, we look at it as not as two books of business that have been brought together, which certainly has happened, but more of what can we create from an enterprise value perspective. So we are 50-50 owners. I would say we spend our day telling each other the same phrase of, that's why you're in charge. So it's less of I think I'm in charge. We kind of keep pointing the finger at the other person, like, I hope you're in charge of this.
Well, that's not good. That doesn't sound good either. That scares me in some ways, because then
Tell
who's
me why.
accountable? Well, no. So then who becomes accountable for something if something were to not fall through, right? If
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I know what you're saying, and I know how you're saying it in a good way.
yeah,
But
we do.
then when things get real and then something falls through and something happens, who's holding the accountability? I see that you have traction behind you. I don't know if
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
read
yeah,
it or if you guys talking about implementing
yeah.
EOS. EOS is a good way to cement these roles, but you guys have to understand what you're great at too and what your
Mhm.
strengths are. What are the roles? You're 50-50 owners. What are the roles in the practice? Like, do you guys have titles? How do you handle that?
Yeah, we're working on that right now. For what the past while, our approach has been, let's get to know each other better, and let's figure out those things that one is better at, one is not as great at. The problem I think we're finding is that we're both fairly good at some of the same things. So we've sort of taken the approach, we'll do these things together until there's a clear split where it's like, okay, we've got this down, we feel comfortable, let's just, you do this, I'll do this, and we just chat once a day, once a week, whatever that check-in time is, which is very time consuming, right? We're kind of duplicating a lot of our efforts,
But that's okay in the beginning. You're still
but
building a foundation.
we are. And I think it's been as slow as that makes it feel. I think it's going to enable us to go a little bit quicker in the near future, because we can together suss out, here we need this platform, or this is where we're struggling here. And it's not about reporting in with each other. It's about us jointly making discoveries and jointly agreeing on solutions. And I know that I would not have come up with the answers by myself that she and I have come up with together. And I bet she would say the same. So
Two
I
heads are
don't
better
think
than one, right?
I think so. And so, with as big of a client base as we have, with the size of our team, some joint activities are worthwhile. Will we be able to keep that up indefinitely? No, but we won't need to either.
Yeah. Well, I think the two large components of what things tend to deteriorate or go wrong in partnerships that I've seen, especially working with clients, is egos get in the way or money gets in the way or both. And I think if you can have shared values and you can have some form of accountability and delegation and responsibilities, and egos don't get in the way, you've got the golden ticket, right? Then it's just a matter of defining which ones where's your lane and where's her lane, and how can you guys both continue to drive forward and stay in your lanes too. Now it's the same lane. You're in a HOV lane together, right?
Yeah. And I think we need that because I think there's a lot of trust there, but we also are still figuring out those foundational pieces, but those will come together, right? And to your
Yeah.
point, as those solidify, then that role solidifies, and then we can divide and conquer.
So did you guys come up with a new name for your firm when you joined, or is it the same one of your names?
Yes, that was, part of creating enterprise value, at least for us, was removing our names, removing geographical references. Really?
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
there's
no longer do you have the geographical Atlanta tax. Do you still have the website?
I do. It still gets a few Google hits here and there,
All
and
right.
people still find me there. So, and Sarah has hers. I don't think we're getting rid of our old websites anytime soon. There's some value there, but yeah, we had a new name, has a brand attached to it. It's hopefully not necessarily attached to either of us, at least right. Maybe not ever. Again, our goal is to have a business that is its own thing, right? It stands alone. It doesn't really need our names on it or even our faces on it, but it has high quality associated with it. It has an obvious proposition for the correct market associated with it, all those things.
You want a business to grow and scale, and it's got to have a brand. It's got to be clearly you guys and defined and for your clients. What's the name? What's the name of the new
Oh,
firm?
the firm name is Agate CPA.
How do you
Um,
pronounce it?
Agate.
Agate? Because I thought it was a gate. I was going to say a
Yeah,
gate.
everybody doesn't. No, everybody takes bets on what it is. It's a type of stone.
Ah,
It's a
tell me
type.
what kind of stone? What is it? What is it?
It comes out of volcanic areas,
Yeah.
but you can find them, and it can be a little bit hard to tell an agate stone from other types of stones just because they can look kind of similar, but they come in a variety of colors. They have very pretty patterns on them. They might have multicolor, it might be one color and white, it might be different, but they're very tough, sturdy stones. They're formed over like millions of years. They're just, it was a brand. As we were thinking of names, looking at brands, we wanted something that, if you go and look for a financial services company named Agate, you find maybe two, right? Whereas if you want to go find a financial services company called, I don't know, I can't even think of any
Smith
name.
and Brown. You could
Yeah,
probably find Smith and Brown.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of those, or there's a lot of names that are associated with money, right? And so, those are lousy with, it's hard to find a URL or it's hard to differentiate yourself in the market, that sort of thing.
So this reminds me of I just had a guest on, and her company's Tuatera. Nobody really knows what that is. You'd have to look it up, but it's a very highly evolved lizard that looks like a dinosaur, basically. And in this way, I find it similar. These are formed over millions of years. These stones, it's trustworthy, and the imagery that it could bring out for the client or the potential client, once they look it up and know what it means, it tells a story. A rock, and at the core, at a rock is foundation, and it's solid. When you refer to somebody as your rock, that means they're stable and they're
Right.
firm and they're in there. And this is your firm. This is your accounting firm or your tax practice. And
Well, for some folks, they're interested in the properties of various stones. This stone is said to promote healing, or this stone is said to, so agates are said to promote calm. They're associated with raising awareness. So, there is some thought. And actually, if someone just goes to our website on our about page, they'll see some of this, right? So we're kind of explaining the meaning behind the name. We're not necessarily putting the pronunciation on the website, but I guess we could do that.
Yeah, you could. Agate, agate. Once you hear somebody else say it long enough, then you're gonna know. But the pronunciations don't matter these days
It
anyway.
doesn't.
I
It
had
does.
to still. I've known you for a while, and I still have to ask you how to pronounce your last name. You
Yeah,
know.
and it doesn't matter, right?
So you're the sunshine that's coming through the McLeods. So you saw somebody not even a year ago, and now you guys are building a firm together. Even though it might be stressful in the beginning, integrating the systems, processes, the people, and all that stuff. How would you rate your level of fulfillment?
Mm. Yeah, I would say I wouldn't say it was low this time last year, but it's definitely higher now. I'm enjoying training the team. I'm enjoying working to build something that will stand on its own. There's just a lot more energy, I would say. Good energy.
Ooh, good energy. Yeah. Because you, on a day that you're working with yourself and you have low energy, it's hard to feel that uplifted. But then you interact with your team or you interact with others or clients, and then that can bring you up too. So you get out of your own head.
I was a sole practitioner for a decade, and I decided I think I will do something different now. And I can complain a lot about the accounting industry, but I will say the opportunities feel limitless. I was in one mode for a very long time and decided I'll just do something different today. And even had I not found a partner to do this with, I still could have done that. So if, there's somebody listening and maybe they're on the fence about starting their own firm or redoing things in their firm, you can do it. If I did it, you can do it.
The opportunities feel limitless. I love that. And they are limitless if you have that right mindset too. If you see everything as opportunities.
Hi, class is in session. It's time for shoperations at accounting. Hi, class is in.